Hello and welcome to Loppy Loves. If you haven't been here before, my name is Lauren and on this channel I talk about my life as an immigrant living in Iceland. In today's video I am going to be talking about something that I've noticed more in like the second half of the last year, and it's that a lot of people seem to be leaving Iceland at the moment, both immigrants and Icelanders. At first it kind of seemed to be just a coincidence, but I have spoken to other people about it and it does seem that there is quite a lot of people leaving or planning to leave at the moment. Now, I am not leaving Iceland myself, but in the second half of the last year I have definitely been feeling like Iceland is not necessarily the place for me anymore, and that I could make a better life for myself back in the UK, which I know the UK is in a horrible situation at the moment. But it is strange that I've been feeling this at the same time a lot of other people seem to be feeling this. So in today's video, I'm just going to be talking about some of the reasons that people have told me for them wanting to leave Iceland, and talk about some of the reasons that I would like to leave. But like I said, I am not leaving Iceland. It's just, it's thoughts that have been entering my head within the last 6 months. So the first reason that I personally know someone who has left Iceland for, and I have heard some other people talking about it, is the weather. Which is interesting to me because Iceland has, the weather's pretty consistently bad here. Well, I say bad, it's not. I really like the snow, but many people don't. So I know someone who left because of the snow in the winter and getting fed up of commuting to work in the snow. Yeah, and some of the Icelanders that I've spoken to just want better weather in general. And I do understand them. Like I said, I love the snow, but in the winter you can be stuck inside a lot, and I do quite enjoy that sometimes, but it can be frustrating if you are wanting to go out and, see people, socialise, and you can't because there's a snowstorm outside. Or yeah, and it's also quite a restrictive climate when it comes to like growing vegetables and things. Obviously things can grow here and you can have a greenhouse, but I feel like we can't get the variety of things that we can grow back in the UK. Quite a common reason that I'm hearing at the moment is just how expensive things are getting. Obviously Iceland has always been quite expensive, at least while I've been living here. We do have better wages, but things have been rising, especially in the last year. Like the cost of living is just going up and up. And I know that is the same everywhere, but people are just getting fed up, especially when it comes to housing prices. And like I said, I know we're not the only country dealing with that, but it is insane at the moment. Rental prices have gone up, but also just to buy an apartment now, like a starter home, is out of reach for so many people. We are very lucky with the flat that we have, it was the cheapest place in Selfoss at the time, and I think it's the cheapest apartment that I've seen for sale in Selfoss for a long time, actually. Most of them are new build apartments now. Ours was built in the 40s, but yeah, it's very difficult to get onto the property ladder now, and even renting, it's very difficult to find somewhere affordable. And I've also heard quite a lot of Icelanders, particularly young Icelanders, that they're looking into moving abroad within the next few years just because they can't afford to live here, unfortunately. And it's a shame. And like I said, I know the situation is bad everywhere, but it is shocking in Iceland, especially because we don't really have as many cities, as other countries. We have Reykjavik, and then, it's not really a city, but like the second city is Akureyri in the north. Besides that, there aren't really many, metropolitan area kind of things. And there are homes in the countryside, but again, they're still expensive depending on where you go. Unless you go to the more remote regions of Iceland, like the east and the north, and the west fjords. But again, there's not many work opportunities there, or there's less opportunities for people. And also, I don't think that a lot of these towns actually have much of a stock of housing. I do know someone who moved to the east a few years ago and had to build their own house because there was no housing for them. Yeah, so a lot of people are thinking about moving abroad for that. And I have actually been looking into property in the region that I would want to move to if I was going to move back to the UK. Like I said, we're not. I need to keep reiterating that we're not leaving Iceland, especially because my partner doesn't want to leave. but for what we can get with the same money in North Yorkshire, where I want to go, as you know, what we have here, it's a huge difference. So for a similar sized property to this, like a 2-bedroom flat in North Yorkshire, in one of the, you know, Whitby's the town that I was looking at, but I was also looking at the towns around there. For this, it was about 27 million. I can't remember the exact price in kroner. 27 and a half, I think it was. And for the similar sized flat, it was 11 million. Or on the higher end, 15 million, you know, in kroner. I can't remember the price in pounds. And for a 5-bedroomed house in Slates, which is a little fishing village, with a garden, private parking, and then a huge plot of land behind the private parking that is yours, it was 35 million, which is nothing. Like, it's difficult to even get a new apartment here for that price now. It's crazy. I've heard of some people wanting to move abroad for better opportunities, and that's definitely something that's played into my thought process of thinking I would like to move home. I am a jeweller by trade. This is what I used to do in the UK. It's what I'm qualified to do, but my qualifications don't translate over into Iceland, so I can't work properly as like a goldsmith. And I am trying to start my own business. Well, I have registered my own business, which is a very expensive process in Iceland, and a lot of people just can't really do it because it costs 500,000 kroner, which is about £3,000. It's crazy expensive to register a business here, and I still got to build it up, you know, not earning any income from that right now. And I know that if I went back to the UK, I could get a job as a jeweller easily with my qualifications and experience. And I also know that if I set up my own business, I have a much larger market of people to market to, and I feel like I could run it a lot better in the UK. And also it's cheaper, much cheaper to set up a business in the UK than it is in Iceland. Yeah, so I feel like there are limited opportunities here. But the great thing about being a small country is that you also, when you create your opportunity, you can also create, you know, you can be the first person to do it in Iceland. I know someone a few years ago who basically recreated Just Eat, which is like a food ordering service in the UK that's been around for many years. Basically copied that model and created their own brand, and they were like the first person in Iceland to do it, and it was like, it took off because it was, you know, genius invention in Iceland. And with the jewellery that I make, I know I am the only person in the country making the kind of jewellery that I am making. But it's a bit frustrating how difficult it can be to work in your field here, I guess. Some people want better like public transport and infrastructure in general, and that's the reason for them considering moving abroad. We don't have any trains in Iceland, and the public transport, the buses, are not the best. The system here is not great. Yeah, and so some people are just fed up of having to drive everywhere, because, I mean, you know, a lot of places are walkable, especially if you live in the capital. But out in the countryside, yeah, you're kind of relying on the buses if you want to go out of your town, and they're not amazing. And if you're someone like me who is not very confident driving, yeah, it can be quite difficult being here. And even though most Icelanders get their driving licence as soon as they're old enough, though I have known some who waited, you know, until they're a bit older, and I do know some who don't have driving licences. Some people just don't enjoy driving, and yeah, so obviously living somewhere with a better infrastructure when it comes to transport would suit them more. Do know some people who want to move abroad for education, you know, if they can't find the courses that they want to do in Icelandic universities, but they're using that as a way to get abroad, but they don't necessarily plan on coming back to the country after they've got their education. Obviously they'll have to wait and see. Maybe they want to, maybe they'll change their mind after living abroad, but that's a reason that I've heard a few people here wanting to move abroad recently. Finally, I think that just living on an island is a reason that I've heard for some people wanting to leave now. Obviously we have to get everything imported in a lot. Well, not like food and stuff. Some things do grow here, but if you want things, you often import them in. Very high import charges, because we not only have the customs and taxes to pay, we also have just post office fees. Like if you get a parcel from Europe, there's a fee to pay for that. If it's outside of Europe, the fee is slightly higher. There is handling charges. If you don't collect your package within a few days, you have charges added on. And just living in mainland Europe, I think, is an appeal to some people. And for me, living in the UK, even though we are an island nation as well, there's a lot more of us and a lot more products available than there is in Iceland. So that's it from me today, just a short video. This is literally just something I've noticed over the last few months and I've been having conversations with people about. Yeah, and this was not in any way meant to be a dig at Iceland. Of course, I enjoy living here. I wouldn't be here otherwise. So no, please don't get offended if you didn't like anything I said. It's just conversations I've had with people recently. So like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.